All right, we're live on YouTube. Shout out to everybody who's hanging out with us. We are now 38 minutes past the NFL trade deadline, and the 49ers didn't do anything else. I'm going to say anything else because they did trade for Keon White. They did acquire Keon White, so they didn't do nothing. They just didn't make any additional moves. Can I tell you when I thought the 49ers would be not doing anything today?
Sure.
It was when the Dolphins got a third-round pick for Jalen Phillips, who has played 15 games in the last 3 years. And I think has 1 sack this season. When they got a third-round pick for Jalen Phillips, who's a player we had talked about, like, yeah, man, he's got injury history, hasn't been super productive. You might be able to get him for like a late-round pick swap. When he went for a third, no, I didn't think the 49ers are going to be in. And then you started seeing multiple firsts getting thrown around, and Sauce Gardner's getting moved, and then Quinnen Williams getting moved for a first and a former first-round pick who's not even off his rookie contract yet. Like, oh my God. I thought San Francisco would be involved in the edge rusher market, or in the portion of the edge rusher market where players were available for late-round pick swaps, things of that ilk. And I just don't think that there were that many players available for that. And I have additional explanations too, but I wasn't shocked that the 49ers didn't do anything on Tuesday.
Me neither. And I think you could trace the logic all the way back to the offseason, where it was very clear what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, and maybe to a certain extent Jed York, wanted to do was do an organizational reset in terms of spending and in terms of team building and prioritizing draft picks and the future, right? This wasn't an off season, unlike the previous 2 off seasons where the 49ers were pushing all their chips in, trying to go win a Super Bowl. They were saying, all right, let's cut down on our bad contracts. Let's trim the fat. Let's prioritize draft picks because that's what we need to do to build a sustainable winner for the next 3, 6, 9 years, whatever, however long it's going to be. And if you listen to Kyle Shanahan talk about the team's mindset going into the trade deadline throughout the season, it was never, yeah, we're just going to be a piece away and we're going to make short-term decisions. He was pretty consistent in what he was saying, in that what we do is going to help us in 2025 and 2026 and potentially beyond that, which in no way sounded like they were going to move a first-round pick for somebody like Trey Hendrickson,
Right,
who likely is going to want a new contract this offseason. And if not, you're looking at franchise tagging him for a high number after you already have Nick Bosa coming back off an injury. It's just like, it just never felt like this was the type of trade deadline for the 49ers, even at 6-3, that seemed like they were going to make a big splashy deal because, one, of where they're at from a team building perspective, and 2, I frankly don't think Kyle Shanahan thinks this team is that good. And we can talk
I
about
100% think he thinks that
that they're good or that they're not that good.
that they're not that good.
Yeah, I don't think he has a super high opinion of this team, and we can talk about the reasons why. But to me, it doesn't make sense. Like, this team isn't good enough, and I would agree with Kyle Shanahan if he believes this, that this team isn't good enough to invest a massive swing trade in, given the injury situation. Now, if the Niners were healthy and if Brock Purdy had been playing all season and not dealing with turf toe, and if you had Fred Warner and Nick Bosa and Mykel Williams and Ricky Pearsall, like, okay, like, you want to go get Trey Hendrickson, that makes sense because the NFC is wide open. But because you're missing so many of your star players for the season at this point, or I guess just 2 of the most important ones on defense, that to me is like, no, let's just kind of hold on to our assets, try to maximize what we can get this season, and try to be better in 2026 and 2027.
Yeah, man, 2025 was always about 2026. And it was always about 2027. I see Agency 323 in the chat talking about the Bosa insurance thing where the Niners got $7 million. That had nothing to do with being able to make trades this year. Like they weren't their injury situation. Yes, they are 6-3, but they're not a Super Bowl contender. Let's be fucking real here. No, I'm serious, man. Does Jalen Phillips make the 49ers a Super Bowl contender? Does Bradley Chubb make them a Super Bowl contender? Like, no, it makes them a little bit better. But here's the facts. They would probably go out. The highest end player they were probably going to go get is roughly Bryce Huff level. Guess what? Bryce Huff's coming back from his hamstring injury this week, or he's expected to. And then the highest level player they were probably going to go get in a trade was probably like a Cleveland Farrell level player. And guess what? They can bring him up off the practice squad. There you go. There's your 2 defensive ends. You happy? Like they did it. They got some bodies. They got some players in. This is not, I know you want every year to be about the Super Bowl, but it's been so clear, as Chris just laid out, it has been so clear that from the time their season ended last year, everything they were doing from a draft pick perspective, everything they were doing from a financial perspective was about how do you open a Super Bowl window in 2026 and beyond. And one of those key factors is holding on to your draft capital for next season and in 2027. So I don't have a problem with how they operated. If you think that there was a market difference they could have made in the trade market that would have taken them from, yeah, that's a playoff team, to, oh my God, they might win playoff games and go to the Super Bowl, good on you. I don't see it. I didn't see it. And I don't have any issue with the way the 49ers operated at the deadline, given that they're sticking to a plan that they've been laying out for publicly, by the way, for 9 months now.
Yeah. I think Kyle Shanahan is very transparent, not so much with what he says, but how he operates. Mm-hmm. Right. And we can, and I think he's very clear on how good he thinks his team is. Like, if you just look at his actions, like 2019, they went and got Emmanuel Sanders. That was like, they think they're good. You know, 2020, Trent Williams, obviously anytime you can get Trent Williams for basically a song, which ended up being a 3rd and a 5th, like you do that. You go get Christian McCaffrey, right? Because you think you have a chance that season to go make a run. And the 49ers did. Like, and even with Chase Young, like they thought they needed reinforcements there to get to the Super Bowl, which they did get to the Super Bowl. This team just isn't that good. Yes, they're 6-3. I would say they're pretty fortunate to be 6-3, if we're just being completely honest. Yep. And there was something Mike Sando wrote, and I think Mike Sando might be the best just NFL media person in the game, at least in terms of just level-headed analysis. Every week, read him on Mondays over at The Athletic. He does a great job. But one of the things he wrote about this week was the 49ers kicking situation. And how basically, I'm not going to go through the whole thing because I'd encourage everyone to go read it for themselves. But if the 49ers he basically made the case that on paper, if the 49ers had their kicking situation of last year, in addition to their opponents' kicking situation, like the 49ers have benefited from a lot of missed field goals from opponents this year. So with Eddie Pinheiro making all of his kicks and opponents missing fewer kicks, if you flip the EPA number that the EPA advantage the 49ers have gotten purely from made and missed field goals from them and their opponents. If you flip that to last year's number, the 49ers are 3-6 conceivably and not 6-3.
Yep.
Which I think speaks to how we've been talking about this team. Like, yeah, it's great that they've been getting wins, but it doesn't feel like that this is a sustainable winner, particularly with your backup quarterback, particularly with a patchwork defense. Like, that all has kind of come to roost in the games against Tampa, in the games against Houston, Jacksonville to a certain extent. Like, it just feels like this team is punching above its weight, which is great. You're never going to be upset about having a 6-3 record given all the injuries that they've dealt with. But at some point, you have to be realistic and say, all right, can we go win on the road in the playoffs with this team? And Kyle Shanahan, with no confidence, can even say, yeah, we're going to have Brock Purdy back at any point. Like, there's no, he cannot look at a scenario with any confidence and say, I'm going to have 2023 level Brock Purdy MVP candidate available to me at any point. He just has to get healthy. Like, no, Kyle Shanahan has said that this turf toe injury is going to be something he's going to deal with for the remainder of the season. He hasn't ruled out surgery, and he has no reason to believe that Brock Purdy's ever going to be healthy this season and healthy enough to get on the field and or play enough at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to win a road playoff game and him to feel confident about it. And if you feel like you can go, if you watch the 49ers and you're like, oh, Mac Jones can go win a road playoff game, more power to you. We will just agree to disagree on that.
Sure. Yeah, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know. Maybe the 49ers do go win the Super Bowl this year. Like, that's why sports are sports, and that's why we watch them, because you don't know the outcomes. But you can go through. Here's the thing. If you put Seattle Seahawks uniforms on the 49ers, the 49er fan analysis of the Seattle Seahawks is that's a fraudulent ass team. They got a pass breakup and a last second field goal to beat Arizona at home. They got the weird fumble at the goal line by the Rams and a missed field goal by the Rams and a kick out of bounds by the Rams. The Rams just fumbled that game away quite literally. And then a horrible play call on a 4th and 1 when the 49ers couldn't get a stop. And they beat the Rams. Okay, that's pretty fraudulent. Like, that's how we would be viewing Seattle if Seattle was doing exactly what the 49ers are doing. And it's cool. It's a fun ride. Like, this season has been fun. Like, I think the expectation internally this season was this is a playoff team. And if the enough rookies develop at the right rate, maybe we'll be dangerous come January. And maybe you can alter expectations then. I think that is still very much what this season is about for the 49ers. Their ceiling is just lower. But I think internally they very much still think this is a playoff team, and who the hell knows once you get into the playoffs. But you talk about going on the road and winning. I don't think there was a trade out there that they were going to realistically make today that made you feel better about the 49ers going on the road and winning. If they had traded for Keon White today instead, would people feel better? Like, I think they would. They didn't do something right at the deadline. So, oh my God, the world is ending. I don't believe that at all.
Yeah, it's similar to free agency, right? It's like when the Niners signed Jauan Hargrave to one of the biggest deals of that offseason, it was, oh man, Niners loading up, look how aggressive they are.
Mm-hmm.
The Jauan Hargrave deal didn't turn out to be a good one in the long term. And they moved on from him in this offseason, and I think rightfully so. And that's not to say he's a bad player, but we get so enamored with making moves just for the headlines and saying this team needed to make a move and they made a move. Like, congrats to them. Like, they're just operating on a different wavelength this year, which I think is fine and understandable. I think the injuries are just too much for them to overcome.
If the 49ers are going to make some crazy run, it's going to be because of Brock Purdy. It's going to be because of Christian McCaffrey. It's going to be because of George Kittle. It's going to be because Kyle Shanahan is a good coach and Robert Saleh is a good coach. Like, those are the things they're going to lean on.
Yeah. For them to win playoff games, it's going to be because Brock Purdy comes back, Brandon Ayuk comes back, Ricky Pearsall comes back, and all of a sudden the Niners are scoring 30+ points a game. That's it. That's
the path. And that is the path. Now it would have been the path if they traded a 5th round pick for somebody.
And it especially became the path when Nick Bosa and Fred Warner were lost for the season with injuries.
Yeah.
On top of Michael Williams and on top of everything else. So,
can I tell you what they should have acquired at the deadline?
Sure.
I hope you're following me here.
I think I am.
Yeah, they should have acquired lamb chops. sglambchops.com is the website. And you're like, Kyle, just acquired lamb chops? Like, bought it? No, they should have just fitted out the team in lamb chops gear.
Probably.
That's what I would do with me.
The fall line is great. I've been loving everything I've gotten so far from lamb chops. I'm actually wearing the Candlestick Chronicles hoodie, which you can find on Lamb Chop's website right now as I wrestle with the technology here.
Yeah,
t-shirts and hoodies. Just unbelievable stuff from them. Very reasonably priced. And if you use promo code Candlestick20, you'll save 20% off your first order. And they do free shipping on orders over $100, I believe. So you can get some really great clothing at a pretty reasonable price. And hey, the holidays are here. So why not do that? So go to sglambshops.com for the Candlestick Chronicles merch. Type in Candlestick into the search bar on the website and you will find it quite easily. Follow them on their social channels. Shout out to those guys. I'll be seeing them in Minneapolis about 10 days time. So looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And yeah, lamb chops. Join the herd. Kyle, you and I make decisions every day.
Is that Marshawn Lynch and Adam, whatever his last name is? Divine?
Yeah, I think so.
Sure.
I should note this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Kyle, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? You can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. Follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, celebrity, partner, or just someone whose picks you like Kyle or myself. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code Candlestick, like the name of this podcast, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code Candlestick to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right.
It sure is. Hell yeah. Are you surprised that Jauan Jennings is still a member of the 49ers after the trade deadline?
I'm not at all surprised that he's still with the Niners. I will say I wouldn't have been surprised if they dealt him. Because I don't think he's going to be back. I don't think they're going to prioritize signing him in free agency. I think he's probably someone who can get more on the open market than he would from the 49ers. And I think if you're looking at the Niners receiver situation and say, yeah, they're missing a bunch of guys, if you do get Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall back, then you might not need Jauan Jennings as much as you do need him right now. Kendrick Bourne, I think, has certainly helped in that regard too. And if you could have gotten something similar to the Jacoby Myers trade package that the Raiders got, I think I would have done that deal, which is what, a fifth and a sixth, a fourth and a sixth.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fourth and a sixth.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the Niners could have gotten a fourth and a sixth for Jauan Jennings, I think I would have done that. So am I surprised he's on the team? No. Would I have been surprised if they traded him, if it would have been for something like what the Raiders got for Jacoby Myers? I would have done that deal and it wouldn't have surprised me. Yeah.
Jauan's had a really disappointing year, whether because of injury and obviously what happened this offseason. The 49ers also kind of, I think, need him, given their lack of depth at wide receiver. But I think if that trade had been out there for them, I think they would have taken it. I just don't think it was there. He's just not having the same year he had a season ago, which was sort of the fear the entire time. Yeah. Anyways.
We good over there?
Yeah. Just fighting for my life. It's fine.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement. Jermaine Johnson, I thought the 49ers would get somebody like Jermaine Johnson, honestly, going into the day. And I even texted you and Nick. I was like, day 3 pick, Jermaine Johnson, like, call it in. And then you see reports, I think Diana Rossini had it first, that the Jets were telling teams they wanted a second-round pick. And there were other reports out of New York saying the Jets had offers for second-round picks.
Mm-hmm.
For Jermaine Johnson, but ultimately he didn't get traded. I'm a little dubious of the idea that the Jets had second round pick offers in hand and didn't take them. To me, that would be a pretty wild overpay for somebody like Jermaine Johnson coming off an Achilles tear last year, who I think has just 1 sack in 5 games this season. Mm-hmm. I think to me, he would have made sense for the 49ers if they, somebody they liked, because Robert Saleh was there when he was a first round pick in 2022. Sure. But yeah, coming off the Achilles, I wouldn't have given the Jets, I don't know, a 5th round pick, maybe a conditional 5th that
Yeah.
turns into something, or a 6th that turns into a 5th, depending on, games played thresholds or something like that.
But do you blame them for wanting a second when you see Jalen Phillips went for a third? Like, oh, okay, that's the going rate for a defensive end who's had some injury stuff. Cool. Here's a second. He's younger.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The trade market was really weird this year.
Sauce Gardner going for 2 seconds is wild.
Two
Or two
firsts.
first.
And then the Cowboys giving up a first and a defensive tackle to get another defensive tackle is just chef's kiss.
And it was a first and a second, wasn't it? I think there's a second round pick in 2026 and then a first in 2027 for Quinnen Williams.
Okay.
Yeah,
I did
I
not.
believe.
I was in the midst of a radio show when that trade was happening, so I probably missed a couple of the details.
Yeah, you do a great job on the Insiders on ESPN 1320 in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Available on youtube.com. What's the handle?
/ESPN 1320.
Okay, good. If we're gonna mention it, we might as well just like actually fully mention it. Yeah.
Free plug.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying it's like one of the craziest deadlines ever. I don't know. I think it was a crazy deadline for the Jets. Trevor Penning going from the Saints to the Chargers. Chargers obviously without Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt needing tackle help. That made sense. There wasn't any real move that I was like, man, 49ers really should have just pulled the trigger on that guy.
Yeah.
Given what the other deals were.
There were somewhere like Jalen Phillips. Oh, I thought the Niners would be on him, but not at a third. Like Draymond Jones, sure, I guess, maybe. But again, as a fan, you're approaching this from, I want to see this team do everything they can do to win the Super Bowl. But from the 49ers perspective, they're looking at this going, would we rather have access to this draft pick in 2026, or would we rather bring this player in who will help us not change our ceiling? And I see why they held on to the draft picks.
Yeah.
Jesus. In fact, every trade they made this year, the Keon White trade and the Sky Moore trade, were both pick swaps. Like, they weren't even dealing picks; they were just moving picks.
What was the Brian Robinson trade? I forget.
Oh, the Brian Robinson trade might have been a just a 6th.
Yeah, 2026 6th.
Yeah. All right.
Which is fine.
That's different.
That's fine.
Yeah, like there are other 2 trades for just like fringe guys have been pick swaps.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's been pointed out online and elsewhere that the Niners are likely going to have 4 compensatory 4th round picks this year.
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4, maybe 4 4th round picks total, 3 compensatory picks in addition to their own.
Yeah.
So like I'm generally like in sports and NBA and the NFL, I generally have no problem with teams wanting to build their operation through the draft. It's essentially what the 49ers did when they first became contenders in 2019, was that, they had very few big contracts. They went out and signed Richard Sherman, but then they relied heavily on guys on rookie contracts. Fred Warner was like Debo Samuel, Dre Greenlaw, Nick Bosa at that point. George Kittle was still on his rookie deal. Like, it's really, really hard to do, but it's the best way to build something sustainable. And I think the 49ers understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And is it disappointing that they haven't won a Super Bowl yet? Absolutely. They went to 2. They went to another couple NFC championship games. They had arguably, I think, maybe the 2nd or 3rd best run in the NFC since 2017, given all the postseason success that they've had. You could say the Rams and the Eagles are the only teams that you would take over the 49ers because they actually have won Super Bowls. But I think that building through the draft is the best way to do it. And I know it's hard when you've had success and you feel like, oh, just trade these picks and get back and make other moves like Christian McCaffrey or Trent Williams or whatever. But those moves just don't really seem like they're there to help this team because this team is just too injured to be able to capitalize off moves like that.
Yeah, man. That's it. Like, that's exactly what it is. And I don't know how many more words I can say to convey that. Hey, we have one more trade, apparently.
Do we?
Yeah. The Chargers traded something named Jasur Taylor to the New York Jets for a conditional 7th-round pick in 2028. That's the least I've ever seen a player traded for. They're like, we'll give you this guy for a pick maybe in the 7th round 3 years from now. Shout out to
crazy.
The Sauce Gardner replacement. It's good business by the Jets.
That's really crazy. Benali in the chat says, more surprised the Bills didn't make any moves. The most gettable the AFC's been in years. Why not get Shaheed or literally any defensive help? I think the Bills have very much been like that resetting, we're going to build through the draft team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of worked for them. Like, if you look at the offseason they had a couple years ago, what?
The Bills also have, according to Over the Cap, $1.4 million in cap space.
So that would be another reason.
Yeah.
But they probably have a bunch of dead money because they've moved on from guys similar to what the Niners have, right?
Mm-hmm.
The difference is the Bills have Josh Allen.
Right.
So
I could see a Bills fan. I would be more apt to sympathize with the Bills fan who's pissed that their team didn't try and really take control of the AFC at the trade deadline than I would be with the Niner fan who's like, why aren't they trying to win the Super Bowl? Like, you know?
Yeah.
But
anyways. Yeah. The Bills did just beat the Chiefs.
Yep.
Without making substantial
which they have in the last 5 regular seasons. Yeah.
Benali just really consistent in the chat with the fire takes.
All last season we talked about how all the Lance and CMC trades killed their depth, and now we want to make more trades. Yeah, see, that's exactly it. Like, they took a swing for Lance at a time where they felt they could take a swing. The talent was good. They could give up those picks, and it didn't work out, and they fell backwards into Brock Purdy. They got really lucky there. And then, yeah, the Christian McCaffrey thing came at a time like, cool, CMC will put this team over the top to be a Super Bowl contender, and it's worth all these draft picks. I maintain that people wouldn't have nearly the consternation they have if they had traded for Keon White at 12:58 p.m. today.
Right.
That's it.
What's the Niners' record without Christian McCaffrey this season?
0-9. I don't know if I'm joking. I was thinking about it.
They might have won 1 or 2 games if they did not have Christian McCaffrey and everything else this season was the same.
But
he's
who would
been
they have
that important
those picks from the McCaffrey trade, you know?
Sure. Yeah, whiffing on Trey Lance was
not even Zach trade for Christian McCaffrey because look all the picks they would have had.
Sure, because they're so awesome in day 2 in the middle rounds.
Was the Christian McCaffrey trade good?
It was a 2nd, 3rd, and a 4th, 2 fourths,
something like that.
Yeah,
a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and a future 5th or something like that. It was a lot, but worth it. Like, very much worth the trade.
Very much worth it. Yeah. Still worth it.
Yeah,
he's still one of the. He should win comeback player of the year, right?
Buddy, Joe Flacco has that shit in his crosshairs.
Oh, can you get traded mid-season and still win that award?
Dog, yes. Didn't he just do that? I'm so sure he just did that. Joe Flacco.
What did Joe Flacco come back from?
Being ass at football.
But is the spirit of the award like, okay, you're a backup who played well?
Dude, yeah, yes. Because DeMar Hamlin fucking died on the football field and came back to life and played football again. And then Joe Flacco was like shitty and then had 5 good games for the fucking Browns. And people were like, wow, Joe Flacco gets that award.
Okay.
They set the precedent.
But this doesn't mean that that's correct, right? Like, I think you and I agree that Joe Flacco probably should not win the award, but maybe he will because of press. Okay.
Going to be a 2-time comeback player of the year. No Pro Bowls, no All Pros, but 2-time comeback player of the year, Joe Flacco, because he's 48 and still throwing to Jamar Chase.
I think if there's some circumstance like an injury or a life event or something crazy that happens to you, that should supersede the criteria for like all the criteria for the award, right? It shouldn't be, oh, you were bad, you became a backup quarterback, and then you came in and played great for a few weeks.
Yes.
You deserve comeback player of the year. If you miss an entire season with injury, or basically an entire season with injury, that to me is better criteria for the award than, okay, you sucked and were demoted. Right?
I agree. It would have to be. Yeah, the fact that the comeback player of the year is frequently given to a player who was just bad and then came back and was a little better. Like that's stupid. It's not the spirit of the award.
Yeah, it's fair. Anything else? Niners stand pat.
No. They might get a little healthier this week. Big Rams game coming up.
I would really love to just like be super optimistic and be like, yeah, Niners can win the Super Bowl. Look at everything they're overcoming. It would be, to me, just intellectually dishonest to like really have that much faith in this team.
One, it's way more fun to do shows when that's the case.
Yes.
And 2, people tend to listen to the show more when the 49ers are Super Bowl contenders. And they're not there. We're not going to lie to you. Which is why you should subscribe to this podcast.
Maybe that changes. Maybe they beat the Rams. Maybe like Tatum Bethune becomes an all-pro.
Sure.
Maybe Diamador Lenore has 4 picks and becomes a defensive player of the year candidate.
Yep.
Maybe Brock Purdy comes back and throws for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. Like, it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think we'll gas him up. Deservedly so.
Yep. Yeah. Totally. When that happens, I will be first in line to say I was wrong.
Yeah. All right. We will have more content on our YouTube channel and our podcast feeds throughout the week. We don't know if Brock Purdy is going to be back. That would certainly be an interesting wrinkle. For the Rams game on Sunday, the Rams look really good and have been playing at a pretty high level for the last few weeks, especially after losing the Niners on that Thursday night game. Super important game, super telling game, and we will talk all about it as the week goes on. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate it. At Candlestick Chronicles Podcast on YouTube. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Go to Cooperage Brewing, drink all of their delicious beer, and if they still have the Candlestick Chronicles Hazy IPA, make sure you get that because it's really, really good, particularly if you like hazies. Even there are people in my life who don't like hazies who have had the Candlestick Chronicles Hazy IPA and love it. Kyle is one of them.
The only hazy I drink. Yeah. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, no, that's real. So yeah, go to both their locations in Santa Rosa. The downtown tap room is unbelievable. Still need to make it over there. Yeah, wow. We'll figure it out. We'll get up there for a trip back to Santa Rosa. But yeah, check them out.
Can I bring you this cold hard fact about the Rams brought to you by Cooperage Brewing?
Yeah, let's do it. Cold, sure.
Cold. Never mind. I was gonna nope. They have outscored their last 3 opponents: the Ravens, the Jags, and the Saints, by a score of 86-20.
Yeah, not the best opponents, but still doing what you should do against those types of teams.
Yep, for sure.
So will be a tough game on Sunday, but we'll dive into it as the week goes. Thanks for checking us out, and we'll talk to you guys later.